And so we don't necessarily all going to see the same on things. We're going to have different perspectives, we're going to have different viewpoints, and so that's a good thing. And so today we're going to do, this is going to be a mixture of both trivia questions as well as topical discussions. And so how this is going to go, the trivia side, for every, so this team is going to be divided into the first 4 and then the next 4, so 2 different teams. And I'll introduce the team members and we'll do that in a second. But basically, whenever I ask a question, if you get a question, if the team gets a question right, collectively they decide on and answer a question correctly, get 10 points. And if they get it wrong, then they'll have the opportunity to steal, the other team will have the opportunity to steal. If they successfully steal the question, it'll go to, the stealing team will get 5 points. Okay? Make sense, guys? All right. And then there's a special thing we've got. I've got these little communicators, right? Chris, you get your communicators? Okay. So what this is your phone a friend. All right? So if the team gets stuck, you get a chance to use one out of your 2 to poll the audience. And so this half of the room is with Chris's side. This half of the room is with Amy's side. You get to poll the audience. You can rather use this, listen guys, you can use this to say, hey, there's someone individually who has the answer to this question, and then that person can stand up and answer for you. Or you can poll and say, hey, who thinks it's answer A, or answer B, or answer C? They can raise their hands, okay? It's your team discretion to use it. So I'm going to give this to Amy. There you go. So much power. Yeah, so much power. Okay, so I went ahead and just named the teams for you guys for the sake of time. This before we self-named. It took like half an hour and it was a big mess. And so, for the last 4, since this is the Age of Ultron is coming out very soon. You guys are the Avengers. Hell yeah! There you go. And then this side, these last 4, is going to be the Ultrons. Yeah! The Ultrons. And so the ultimate showdown is going down right now. At the end of the panel, each of these guys will get a chance to at least talk about where you can find more about them, but I'm quickly going to introduce everyone for the second time. Okay, so starting down at our very end, we have Chris Gore, so let's give her Chris Gore. We have Rachel Lara. And Emily Ong. And for starting out on this side, we have Amy Ratcliffe. Andre Meta.
Luckner!
Okay, so we're going to start this out. We're going to flip a coin. And so there's our coin right there on screen. And so I'm going to have Ivy Doom, since you're the last one in, you get a chance to call it in the air. Okay, so look at the screen. It's up.
Tails.
Okay, first question goes to you guys. And so we're going to look at the screen here. Who is considered the most profitable superhero of all time? And so you guys can talk about it out loud, but when it comes to a final answer, you guys will have to put a final answer. Don't forget, oh, real quick. Please do not call out the answer if you know it, because I know some of you guys will know it. If you do, it's going to cost the team up your points, and so don't call out anything. Let them figure it out. Okay, you got 10 seconds. Do you have the answer? Use a mic or something. Who's answering?
Then again, the dollar wasn't.
We would like to say Batman.
And that answer would be incorrect. Incorrect. All right, and for the steal, Avengers.
Spider-Man?
And the answer is Spider-Man. So, considering the retail footprint over here, we have retail $1.3 billion in retails compared to everybody else. It's pretty insane. Also, Alright, we're back to the Avengers. Okay, now we all know, speaking of Spider-Man, of course, created by legendary Stan Lee, but he was not the sole creator of Spider-Man. He partnered up with someone else, a writer and a creator. And so, who is the co-creator of Spider-Man?
Steve Ditko.
Steve Ditko! So you guys now are 50 points. Okay. So let's jump into our first question. Okay, the internet kind of blew up. We're still picking up the pieces from the announcement that Marvel and Sony are going to partner up with bringing Spider-Man into the cinematic universe, which is pretty freaking awesome. And now we're already talking about who could play Spider-Man. And then closely with that is it going to be Peter Parker or is it going to be Miles Morales? And then all of a sudden there's all kinds of crazy discussions about not only who's the actor that should play him, but which Spider-Man should be on screen. And so, the Avengers, the comic books came out with the whole new, totally different Avengers. Having Sam Wilson as Captain America, the female Thor, the Muslim Miss Marvel, as well as, of course, the new Spider-Man. And so, this whole idea of diversity has been a very relevant topic. And as any of you guys know who follow me, I love talking about diversity within comics. And so, before even Peter Parker, or before, the whole, what's it called, Tobey Maguire era, there was talks of this guy playing Spider-Man, And so my question to you is this is an interesting opportunity for the new Spider-Man to make a huge impact on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so the thoughts on, should it be a black Spider-Man? Why is diversity important to you? Go.
First of all, Marvel Universe is pretty white guy heavy, let's be honest. So it would be interesting to see a different take on the character.
Yeah.
I mean, I frankly would love to see it, and God, I don't know. I just feel like it definitely needs to get away from a bunch of white guys.
Yeah. But it would be a departure.
Coming from a white guy.
But Spider-Man in the comic books has always become a Spider-Man Peter Parker with the Avengers, and so this is definitely would be a departure. So keep going. Anyone else?
This is me? Alright. I guess if you're stereotyping all of the characters and you're really going at them in the very white guy way, which they have been too realistic. I mean, what better way than to shatter it all at once? I think it was a little overdoing it in one sitting, and I like that they've been kind of introducing it a little bit at once, a little bit at another time. Everybody has their universe that they really like, but I think that it's earth-shattering at one point, which is kind of, it's kind of important to really do.
I mean, we've got a black Human Torch coming in Fantastic Four, and I don't think anybody cares. I just hope it's a good Fantastic Four movie. Because we haven't had one yet. So I just want it to be a good movie. I don't care who plays it.
I agree. I definitely would love to see even Afro-American Peter Parker. I think that would be really cool. Donald Glover would be great for that. Or there's so many great Afro-American actors out there, and I like to see a mix. Miles Morales, but it doesn't have to be just Miles. It could be Peter Parker, and then still make Miles a mixed character. I'm all for Afro-American Peter Parker. I think that'd be badass.
Andre, you've been black for most of your life, right?
Only about 5, 6 years, yeah.
You're still dabbling a little bit, but
Blackish.
Yeah. So, good show. How important is it to you, or is it important?
Well, first of all, I love the positivity in this room towards that.
Yeah.
Because I'm on YouTube, so I get the complete opposite. I would love to see more of it. I think it will be interesting. I mean, I have heard a lot of negativity towards the black Human Torch. I heard a lot of negativity when Donald Glover, when Miles Morales first came out, because there are some people who mix keeping my stuff pure and mix having issues with different races as kind of the same thing, and sometimes it's even easy to hide an actual racial connotation with, I'm just wanting to keep it pure, but then these are the same people that man, that Mandarin Iron Man 3 change, I love that. That was different. It's well, wait a second. So it's interesting how the fights go different ways. I just want to make sure that if Miles Morales does make on the big screen, that it is about him. I would hate, if they're going to put him in the videos, I hate for them to be like, pew, thanks guys, see you later, and no backstory. If you're going to put Miles Morales on screen, I want a Spider-Man movie with him. I don't want him to just be a wacky sidekick to the Avengers. Yeah.
Well, they shattered with Samuel L. too, and when it came down to it, who was the most white, am I allowed to cuss? Prissy character that you've ever seen. Sticking butt, right? So, I mean, they did that.
Well, let me elevate the conversation. As an Asian American, and whether it's Latinos or African Americans, we're always looking for better, stronger representation in Hollywood, TV, film, all that stuff, comics and whatnot. And so, is the key to create more representation taking current properties and just changing their ethnicity, or is it creating new characters? For instance, could we see Black Superman? Could Superman come from a black Krypton? And as soon as that happens, it seems like people start going bananas over changing these iconic characters over time. But is it changing current properties or creating new ones?
I like the idea of both, a little mix of both. But what I really don't like, and I remember as a kid being really annoyed, is whenever they'd have a black superhero, their first name would be Black whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like Black. Can't they just be Superman?
Yeah, Black nerd comedy hate that.
It's like with Thor now. It's not just Thor. Everybody's like, no, it's Lady Thor. I'm like, it's just Thor.
Yeah. I do want to point out that if it is going to be Black Superman, they have to make sure that he has earrings. Super bling going on.
It's Krypton, but I don't care. It's all good.
If you go into Claire's at the mall, like, how do you pierce Superman's ear? You're like,
Clearly go stick on, okay?
Okay, let's move on with our trivia. Where is it at now? Is it back with Ultron?
We're kicking ass.
Yeah.
Okay,
so what's the score? 15-0 right now? Okay, so for the Avengers, now we're going to start getting, this is a little minutia thing, so good luck with this one. Okay, so in Return of the Jedi, Jabba's palace sequence, it involved 42 extras, 82 principal cast members, 10 puppeteers, 9 mime artists, and over 90 production folks, right? It took a month to shoot, but within that, there was one particular reason why they had to keep reshooting scenes in there. So they kept having to reshoot certain scenes, and it had specifically to do with Carrie Fisher, the Princess Leia's character. So it kept having to do reshoots. So my question to you is, why? Why did they, what was it? Yeah, it's Ultron, Team Ultron. What was the reason for the reshoots? Look at that, man. It's the sound of, brains. It's the sound of brains right there. Okay, 5 seconds. Yeah, it's Ultron. It's there. Oh, okay. Okay. We're ready for the steal. Okay, do you have a...
Oh, good, give us a shot. We're going to say because her boobs kept popping out of her outfit.
That's the answer. Let's take a look. Wardrobe malfunction! If you are a cosplayer, you know about tape. Apparently they didn't have tape back then.
There was no tape in these movies?
Alright, so we have 10 points versus 15, is that correct? Okay. Let's take it back to the Avengers. Staying on the topic of Return of the Jedi, two-part question. The production of the Return of the Jedi was Major Hush Hush, and so they had to use a code name to identify the name of the movie to the general public. So two-part question. What is the name of the fake movie name? And then secondly, what is the genre of the fake movie name? Okay?
It was horror, and the movie was Blue Harvest.
Boom, yeah! Okay, so now 25 to 10? 25 to 10, okay, staying on the topic of Star Wars, super excited. Even after the announcement of Star Wars shortly came after all the spin-off movies, and so we recently got, starring Felicity Jones, Rogue One for Star Wars. And that got me thinking about this whole idea of the female heroine within comics, TV, and film. Not only do we have Rogue One being led by a female protagonist, we have Captain Marvel coming out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as Wonder Woman, which will probably take like 50 years for us to ever see that on screen. And then even recently, we had Agent Carter. And so with the advancements as it is, it still feels like it's still super hard for there to be a female-led property through, again, TV and through Hollywood. And so I want to ask you guys, what do you feel like are the challenges? What needs to happen in order for things to sort of kind of tip over to where there's equal representation? Your thoughts, your challenges, your frustrations, your everything. Go for it. Amy, I'd say you're not, there you go. Go for it.
I just want to say, I feel like Hollywood needs to be, there's a lot of things they need to do, but especially when it comes to female-led properties, they'll have a show led by a guy and it fails, and they're like, all right, we'll try again. they have a show led by, you know, a female and doesn't get great ratings or something happens, they're like, no, we're never having another female-led series, movie ever again. And it's just this weird, like, hurdle that they can't seem to, like, treat them both the same. So I think that's a really key part to, you know, getting more of these characters and getting them second chances and time to, you know, find their footing.
And I'm super excited for Agent Carter, but you can also sense the trepidation, because they were like, it's just a miniseries, and just be happy with the 8 episodes, and we won't know what's going to happen. Like, they were like not willing to fully commit to because of whatever. You know, so.
The great thing about Agent Carter was she was dealing with that in the show as well, so it was kind of a double.
I don't know. The whole theory used to be that like women watch television and men go to the movies. We all know that's BS. And when you look at the success of franchises like The Hunger Games, the Divergent series, the Twilight films, whatever you think of them, those are female-driven series, film series, and they're hugely successful. So I think the pendulum has definitely swung in the right direction. So now it's just finally getting to the Marvel Universe. And I thought Agent Carter was brilliant, the fact that it actually acknowledged the challenges that she had to face, because you know it was at a time, not that those challenges aren't additionally faced today, but certainly in the 40s women weren't given the kind of opportunities that they have today as much, for sure. So it was great that that was dealt with in the show.
Yeah. How do you guys, when it comes to, it's funny because there's, still today there's majority old white dudes that are creating characters and writing them, seeing them on screen, and no offense to old white dudes, I love old white dudes.
None taken.
But in your perspective, what does it take to create a character that really works in the mainstream? We've been through this era where it was highly sexualized, sort of, you know, protagonists, and you know the pendulum's sort of constantly swinging. But how would you describe, what's the characters that you like to see represent yourselves, females, and you know what do you feel like is going to be, again, as we see largely these properties we haven't seen yet, and so what's it going to take for them to sort of break these molds of what does it mean to be a quote-unquote hero?
I mean, they just need good writing. I mean, I feel like all these things are all about, you know, well-written scripts, like keeping the character like strong versus, I don't know, like for me when I watch The Walking Dead, even though I've read the comics, I feel like the women in there like annoy me so much. Like everyone's supposed to do something stupid, and then slowly, you know, like there's certain characters that have grown more, but I'm always complaining like, why are the women so annoying in this show, or why are they just like always getting themselves in trouble? Like I want to see females take the lead and just kind of have a stronger presence.
But there's Carol. Carol's awesome.
Yeah,
Carol has turned off.
Carol's mean to kids.
Take your son to write your
I
show.
felt Carol was kind of like weaker in the beginning, and then she finally became like this really strong character.
She was a woman who was abused by her husband. She was a victim of domestic abuse who then transcended that and then has become the, like, you know, essential person in the group who saved everybody at Terminus. Carol's a badass. She's like my favorite on the show. Carol and Daryl, let's go.
It's about giving a character multiple dimensions, because what you've seen in the past is they've taken a lot of female characters and they've given her just like sort of like a, you know, one dimension. They haven't really developed her that much, and then when it's failed, like as you were saying before, when it's failed, it's been like, oh well, it's the female character's fault, so we're just going to not try that again. So giving the character more depth and profundity, and really being able to break, and I do mean break the universe and start a new universe, because some people like one universe, some people like another. I mean, like, I don't necessarily care for some of the original interpretations of certain comic book characters, and if I see this, maybe I'll like it more, but I mean, giving it a fighting chance by giving it, like I said, more than one dimension.
Well, I don't get it, like, if you're, well, let's put it this way, who are the men heroes, who are they going to save? If the women are victims and they're not, like, helpless, like, what are they going to do? and so you find, you know, not jest, but like, a lot of these female characters and a lot of these properties, they're the ones that things are happening to them, they're the ones that need to be saved, they're the ones that, like you said, are passive.
I think they have to save the female president, right? Shouldn't that be? Because we're gonna have a female president in a couple of years, right? I think that would be pretty awesome to save the female president. Okay, bad idea.
Why is it about the female though that you have to save them? I mean, the Justice League, they were all saving each other.
They could save kids.
Save the puppies.
Yeah, kids always need saving.
Me. They can save me anytime.
I want to say quickly too. I think for something that's really important to me is seeing not just badass women, and not necessarily weak women, but a greater representation of women. We do that watch Gallivant, that show. Something I liked about it is the queen of that show was just unabashedly shallow. She wanted power and whatever. She was unlikable, but it was a different kind of female character than the normal mold we get. So I like seeing a wide variety.
Yeah. And, you know, going back to our earlier conversation about racial stereotyping, one of my favorite characters on comics and on TV is Glenn from The Walking Dead. I love that guy. And you know, he maybe started out as somewhat of a stereotype, but then he really grew out of that and evolved into that. So to me, it's like you said, it's more of a representation that sure there could be some broad stereotypes, but we're so much more than stereotypes. We're so much deeper than that. And so I love the idea of like you have a starting point, but then just show the full range of characters.
I just think we gotta get to a point where who fucking cares what ethnicity someone is? I don't like Glenn because I don't like Glenn because he's Asian. I like Glenn because he's fucking badass. Yeah. He cares about people. The last 2 episodes, those last 3 episodes, Glenn's emotion when he watched. Oh, I shouldn't say this. He saw something bad happen. The look on his face. You remember what scene I'm talking about? You saw it. The acting is like the best thing Stephen Yeun's ever done. Yeah. And I hope we get past the point where we even give a shit about that.
Once it gets past the point of ever even caring about who that person is in front of you, like I think that's great that they're trying to shatter everything kind of at once, because then it's like, oh, well, they're throwing in one, gender bend in the next one. They're changing it up. It's like, who's going to care once everybody's been changed to the last one?
I just want to see good representation of the character. Like, what are the characteristics of them? What do they stand for? And for those things to shine, not are they male or are they female? What's their skin color? Embody that character in the sense of what that character is and what they stand for, and that's what's going to shine through at the end.
That's right. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's get back to our game. Where's it at now? Let's see. Avengers answered last, so Ultron's, right? Okay, so Ella, what's our score?
25.
25-10. 25 to the Avengers, 10 Ultron. So you guys got to make up some ground here. Okay, we are, of course, at WonderCon, which is the little sister show to the San Diego Comic-Con. Love San Diego. It's an amazing show. This might be, so Ultrons, this might be a time to use your call a friend at this one. So the question is here, how old is the San Diego Comic-Con?
Oh, I know this one.
So 45, 40, 35. So again, you might not use your call a friend if you need it. Very happy person.
Okay, Kevin.
Yeah.
Can he answer ours?
Yeah, we'll let you guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hydra, what is the explanation of this one?
Now you seem uncertain.
Oh no!
45.
That's your answer?
45.
45, the answer is 45!
1970 started out in a hotel room with a bunch of guys trading comic books.
There you go.
Okay.
No.
Follow-up question, can you give me a hotel room for the...
That I don't know.
This entire room.
Just a ballroom. That's where it started.
Okay, so related back to the Avengers, let's catch you guys back up. Back to the Avengers, staying on the topic of Comic-Con. Okay, so Comic-Con International did not start, the show did not start with the name San Diego Comic-Con. What was the name of the convention back in 45 years ago?
Is this multiple choice?
It's awfully quiet. You may have to,
Yeah, let's go.
We like to use our phone a friend. What friend? Be a really good friend.
I think your arm has to
Stand
go
up,
out there.
stand up. Yes, yes, yes.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It was the Golden State Comic Book.
oh yeah!
Step out that door,
recruited.
you're Avenger.
I'm almost trying to pick.
Okay. So, speaking of San Diego Comic-Con and just really the Comic-Con culture, everyone, thanks. I think I'm doing that.
I'm in the very far left corner.
Love the crowd.
So speaking of fandom and Comic-Con, like I love the Comic-Con community, and you know I'm online interacting as well as these guys are, and you know our con community is a really powerful community, and so we go from being champions and advocates to trolls like in two seconds, right? And so this whole topic of like online bullying has, I think, really come up to the forefront in the past couple of years. And I wanted to stop and talk about this because we kind of had an interesting events kind of occur over the past few weeks. Gore was actually a part of, had a panel present here during our WonderCon lineup that was comedians that were getting together to read fan fiction as well as produce kind of fan fiction on the spot. And the online community had a difficult time with this because it appeared like it was going to be making fun of fan fiction as well as the writers. And so, again, on this panel, we may have different opinions about what the project Chris was doing, but I would love to hear from Chris about, eventually the panel got pulled, and I'd love Chris to talk about that. But really want to talk about in light of champions and trolls and what it's like, the online community, so go for it.
Yeah, first of all, we actually did a panel yesterday in place of fanfic theater because it was decided amongst myself and WonderCon that we shouldn't go ahead with it. Effectively, it was like 15 or 20 Twitter accounts that complained. What's funny is, after the backlash, there was a backlash against the backlash. So then the trolls, people were upset saying, what? 15 people with Twitter accounts can get a panel canceled at a convention? Unfortunately, this is the stage we live in. We live in a stage of outrage culture. Jim Norton, the comedian, wrote a very interesting essay on Time.com, I suggest you all read, which was about the Trevor Noah situation, him being cast as the new host of The Daily Show. And people look through, he wrote some really shitty jokes, 5 years ago, and that some people found offensive. But we live in this culture where we are, outraged about everything. I think that, I've seen a lot of positive things. I think that the nerd tent, the nerd tribe, it's a big tribe that includes all of us. I never go out of my way to cancel something because I didn't like it or disagreed with someone's approach. I understand why they were offended because I think they felt that they were going to be made fun of. I think they felt that we were not getting permission from the fanfic authors, which wasn't true. We have these performers, some are actors, and they perform the fanfic. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. The positive things that have happened is cosplay is not consent.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, that became a thing. Women were being groped and photographed against their knowledge. That was a problem. I think that we need to deal with this troll situation. We need to not troll each other, and we need to not bully each other, because I've been bullied by jocks, nerds, people who, and other people who didn't like what I was into all my life, so it's kind of irritating for me to now the nerds were turning on each other. We can't do that. Yeah. So we have something, I'd like to hear from other people about it, but we had a great conversation because one of the women who was one of the trolls actually showed up, and we turned into a very productive conversation. Yeah. Because they wanted to turn on her, and I said, no, it's brave that she showed up. Let's all have this talk together, but let's not shut each other down. Let's not be divisive, because we already deal with enough adversity in our lives. So
yeah, and
engaged and all this stuff, and I live in my own house, and you can't judge the people based on.
My mom lives in my basement.
Yeah, exactly. But no, seriously, I think it's great that the internet is giving people a voice, but I think you should use that voice to not just say what you're passionate about, but really try to do some good with it. Not just say, this movie sucks, I hate that Ben Affleck's Batman, all that crap, and just realize that people are humans, and we still grow up in a society that we're trying to find our own, and kids are nowadays have to deal with not only bullies in real life, but internet bullies. So I just wish people would consider that nowadays.
Well, it's like what Chris said. Since when did those getting bullied become the bullies? And that's something that we're facing even more so now within our own community, and it's a really sad thing. And I, personally, I feel that it's up to each and every one of us to be that positive influence in the community and be embracing of others and accepting of others, because when we do that, when we have that positive mentality, it shuts those people down in that sense, because you know what? What they think their loud voice is suddenly starts becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, because the geek community as a whole is just this huge force to be reckoned with, and if you use that power for good, it can make a huge difference. For myself, I grew up getting bullied a lot for my weight and various other things, and you know, I always wanted to cosplay, and I never did it because I was terrified of being bullied and going through those things that I did growing up. And you know, one thing that I absolutely love about the community when I first started cosplaying is that they were very embracing, and you know, you're there with other people that share the same things that you like, and you can sit there and geek out over, oh my god, this is my favorite episode from the original series of Star Trek, or you know, anything. And I think that that's just a really beautiful thing, and if you do have a voice in the community, what better way to help than to help be that positive influence and help others. And you know, there's one thing that I'm thankful for is because of my panels on body image and cosplay, I have a lot of little kids that'll come up to my booth, and like their parents will bring them up and they're like, hey, you know, my little daughter or my little son, they've been bullied at school, but they needed to hear what you had to say at the panel because I want them to know how to deal with it, how to be positive with themselves and with their body image. And you know, I think that we can all make a difference. We just all need to work as one really big unit, one big family, because that's in essence what we all are.
That there's no way that you're going to be able to please everybody. Yes. You're not going to be attractive to everybody. And I mean, one of the things that I feel very fortunate in that the community around my blog, the guys especially, once they figured out that I actually was a legitimate nerd, they embraced me. It was harder actually to win over the women. Women were very catty. And I think that just the name of the blog, Hot Nerd Girl, a lot of women, instead of just looking at a page or two, they just went off the name and were like, you are a terrible person and you're giving us all a bad name and this is how dare you. And I'm like, did you even like read the bio? You know, because my mantra is Nerd Girls of the World Unite. And so for me, I've always been very supportive of other women, and why would you not want to support your fellow women and your fellow nerds in general, but especially women? Women should support other women. There's way too much of that crap.
I'll make this super short because I know you're trying to get a thing going, but I realized that there was a lot of resistance at first, and people would come to sort of flame bait panels when I started doing them, and then I realized that once I started incorporating people and knowing that you are on a platform that people don't have as your community, and everybody in the community, all of you people here, want to be a part of it. Like, you are a part of it. You are the biggest part of it. You are the community. So once I started involving people who were in the audience and back and forth dialogue, I realized that a lot of the resistance started to slow down. And there are going to be people I disagree with, who I don't have the same, agree to disagree. But I mean, it really slowed down once people realized that it wasn't just us sitting up here going, you suckers, you're listening to us for the next hour. Well, it's like once you're involved with that, you realize that everything that you guys say and everything that you do and all the community boosts what we're doing.
That's right. That's great. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, let's jump back into our next set of trivia questions. I think it's back to the Ultrons. We have a question in regards to the Hulk. Okay, so the Hulk appeared in 1962, creator Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Most people know and love the Green Hulk, but he didn't start green. It's just like on this screen, he started gray. And so my question to you guys is why did he change to green? Not something story-wise, but there's a practical reason of why he stayed. Why change green in the following issues. There's a lot of shaking heads up here, a lot of shoulders shrugs going on. 5 seconds. We need to use a
Just as a reminder, you're at a comic book convention.
I think we're going to phone a friend on this one.
Oh, okay. Does anyone know? Anyone out there?
Oh, there's got
What do we call now?
You know?
Okay. If I remember.
Who are you choosing?
Oh yeah, he popped up. You know?
I believe I do.
Okay.
Not 100%, but I'm 95%.
Oh.
I feel 100% sure back there.
Yeah, 90. Do we have?
Alright. basically it was because the printing, it was having issues, so it would like print like dark gray here, and then light gray here, and then like medium, so it wasn't really that consistent.
I like the sound of that.
Boom! You know what? I'm gonna have you guys replace next year.
Yeah! Sit on the panel next year.
Gray was a very inconsistent color, so the most consistent color they had was green. So that's what there you go. Okay, let's jump back 10 points over with Ultrons. Back to the Avengers. So we all know and love Harley Quinn. She's become one of the most popular characters as well as in the cosplay community. And so name her first appearance.
Batman the Animated Series.
There you go, Batman the Animated Series. Okay, so let's this isn't so much culture, more pop culture. We have the epic of epic showdowns occurring with finally DC rolling out their buffet of superhero movies. And so I am, as you can tell by what I'm wearing, I love DC. I love Marvel, but I do love DC at heart. That's what I grew up on. What is it going to take for the DC universe to catch up to the Marvel universe? And do you feel like the Marvel universe, is it peaking? Is it still a lot more to go? Like, what are your thoughts on, this is more of just opinion in general, like what is it going to take for DC to catch up?
I think real simple, one good movie. Yeah. Batman versus Superman is awesome. It's on. And here, I do have a theory though. I think in the DC universe, they read Marvel comics. And in the Marvel universe, they read DC Comics. So I think in some ways they do come together.
Okay, yeah.
That's just a theory, though.
I agree with him. I'm gonna say that, you know, we have DC's kind of taking TV shows, where Marvel's kind of taking you know, film and cinema. But I think, yeah, you know, with more film, they're gonna get back in. I mean, how many people waited on any DC to go, did they do it finally? Did they do something at the end of the movie? I'm waiting.
Yes.
I'm waiting. I shouldn't have waited.
I know. It's true about Marvel. Yeah.
They need a Kevin Feige.
Oh my God, that's what I was going to say.
Well, they're trying to kind of force Zack Snyder into that role a little bit, I feel like, but they need a Kevin Feige.
Yeah, I totally agree. Kevin Feige and having an after credit that set up the whole new universe. I think Iron Man, when you go back to 2008, that was a phenomenal year with The Dark Knight and Iron Man and even Incredible Hulk. And Hellboy too, we forgot about that movie. But yeah, with that, they set up from the get-go so right. They made a good movie first, then set up the universe later. But they had a seed planted at the very end, which I think that DC should have done. They're kind of like forcing themselves in there too quickly. It's like, oh, let's set up all these movies, even though we don't know if they're going to be successful. So I think Kevin Feige is a genius. I think he did everything right, and that's why they're so successful. And that's why in less than 3 weeks, Avengers: Age of Ultron will be the biggest movie of the year. So Star Wars maybe. So.
So let's go on record. Does anyone think that when Batman v Superman comes out, that it is going to perform way beyond anyone's expectation? Anyone think that?
I think just out of interest alone, there's going to be a lot of people to go see it. And the thing is, I want it to work. Like anytime I talk about Marvel on my channel, always like, you're a big Marvel fanboy. Like, watch about DC movies. I'm like, well, there isn't one right now. I can't make one up. But the thing is, there seems to be this kind of rivalry. Like, we want DC to film. Like, no. I want all these movies to be successful. I want all the Marvel superheroes, all DC superheroes. Hell, Fast and Furious is a superhero movie at this point. I mean, see this. They're like jumping and grabbing cars, no limbs broken. It's amazing. These are the new Iron Man. But I want this to be successful. I don't want it to be a failure thing because the problem, the backlash of if DC fails, even though Marvel's is successful, they could still lead to that studio going like, oh, superhero movies aren't popular anymore, and we might see Marvels even start to suffer a little bit. Not because they're being less successful, but because now there's a fear. So if a sequel to one of the Marvel movies doesn't do as well as they thought, then there's all of a sudden this feeling like we can't do these anymore, and that franchise, the whole thing is done. So, yeah.
The nice thing about Kevin Feige is he has a long-term plan, whereas DC is kind of trying to figure out their long-term plan. It's going to make a ton of money no matter what, whether or not it has the staying power that Avengers had in the theaters is another question.
Okay, great. Let's jump into, this is going to be our last trivia question for points. I have an important question afterwards, but last trivia question for points. And this is going to be an all play, so whoever comes up with the right answer is going to win. So this is whoever beats the other team. No pressure. But before that, we will reveal points.
Does our photo friends still count? Because we still have to count.
Yeah. Well, if it gets to stalemate, then yeah. So, all right. So here's a question. Let's read it off, and then the first person to answer this question, again, just the panel, not the audience. Here we go. From Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket Raccoon's name is inspired by a song called Rocky Raccoon. Who is the band?
The Beatles.
There you go. The Beatles. The Beatles. That was the band. Congratulations. All right, another 2 points. Yes. Okay, so this is our last question. I think is honestly the most important one that I want to ask for our panel as we close. Guardians of the Galaxy, like we talked about, was a huge risk for Marvel, right? When that first was announced, I think everyone in this room was kind of like, and even going through the trailers and all that, I think everyone, we were excited, but also a little bit hesitant. We saw the movie, loved it. In fact, it was probably, I had the most fun in that since probably all the way back with the original Star Wars trilogy. I just loved that movie. And so, but what this represents to me is Marvel taking risks, doing things that are scary, doing things that are unpredictable in order to change the game. And so my question to you guys in closing is everyone's up here because you're influencers, you have very interesting lives and careers, and you're impacting and influencing people. None of that came without risk. You had to do things that were scary. So I just want to throw out there, is there a certain moment, a story or something that sort of represents a time when you had to take a leap and it paid off?
Yes, I think creating my blog was scary because I didn't grow up in the age of internet, I'm like over 30, so, just being on the internet was a huge scary thing for me. Posting pictures of myself is scary. I still don't really like looking at pictures of myself, and sometimes I see my husband looking at a picture of me on his phone, I'm like, who are you looking at? It's like still kind of weird for me. So I think and what you guys talked about bullying, being okay with having comments be posted about you, being okay with that, just ignoring it, knowing, people are only doing it because they probably just have low self-esteem or just want to be mean, and just kind of letting those things go, and just having thick skin, like you mentioned.
Awesome.
For me, it was just the fear and lack of self-confidence in wearing my first costume. I had always wanted to cosplay, and then I made my first costume, walked the floor at San Diego Comic-Con 3 years ago. Had a great time, and then my photo popped up online for the first time, and there was a lot of positive comments, but some negative ones. And then someone told me, you know what? For every one negative comment you get, you're getting 30 positive comments. So why are you letting that one negative comment affect all the good that the positive comments are doing? And that really sat with me, and from that point I said, you know what, you're right. And I started making costume after costume and going to cons in costume versus going to cons as an attendee, and it's completely changed my life. And now I travel around and go to cons and work with these fine people here. And
awesome.
If you would ask me 5 years ago that I'd be doing this, I'd be like, oh God, no, I'll hide under a rock. And yeah.
That's great, thank you.
Wearing my Starfleet uniform on a fairly regular basis to high school.
For me, it was I did the day job and writing both of those for a few years, and I'm just making the decision to leave my day job and put faith in my writing and getting more gigs. That was terrifying, but it's improved my life quality and my levels of stress, and thereby my health so much in the past couple years. But it was scary.
I think not caring what people think about you is almost like a superpower.
Yes.
Because what Ivy had to deal with negative comments, that dragged us all down with it. But I think staying positive and also finding a way to hire yourself to do the job that you'd love to do. Because when I look back at my career, the stuff that I did, most of it, no one hired me. No one hired me to do a magazine. I started a magazine. No one hired me to write a book. I just wrote a book and then sold the book. So no one hired me to make a movie. I just raised the money and made a movie. So I think that's what you have to do, is hire yourself for the job you want to do, and also stay positive. That's what I've always loved about you, Tony, because I've seen you moderate this panel. at a bunch of different cons. You are so positive. You're a great positive force. I want to see you go further in all that you're doing and just support everything that Tony does because he is a rock star.
Just for now, I'll delete some of my trolling I did for you.
I just want to say real quick, I want to thank not only you two for giving me a voice for everything I'm doing. I want to thank, it really changed my life. Like, I used to be, the kid that liked to do talent shows and play with toys, and I tried doing music for a while, and that sucked. but now going in front of I'll sing for you later. No, you don't want to hear it now. But anyway, it really is amazing that just filming like on my original camera and like just talking about my opinion on things, people cared, and then now the fact that like 8 years later I'm here on a panel with Gore, who I love watching on Attack of the Show. That was freaking amazing. And then my buddies here like Tony and Andre and Emily, oh my god, all you guys are amazing. I am so blessed. And like I said, don't ever give up. When you guys think that people don't care about your opinion or care about what you do, just dig through the mud, and it's like what quote DC, because Tony loves DC, it's like, why do we fall, Master Bruce? So we learn to get back up again. So don't ever give up, you guys, because you could be on a panel at WonderCon next year, and that'd be amazing. I'll go too, I promise.
This time last year for our WonderCon panel, Sean proposed to his girlfriend, and so it was an awesome moment. Probably the best way a panel has ever ended. So I'm going to leave this little next 10 seconds open. Anyone want to propose? Anybody else? No? No one announced they're with child? Nothing? Okay. All right. So, the last thing I want to leave you with is really just thank you guys for being up here. The reason why that kind of assembled this whole All-Star Avengers team is because you guys are, like Chris said, positive. You're enthusiastic, you're influential, and really it's more than that. I think everyone in this room, we all have a chance to shape culture, which is so awesome. What people on the outside think Comic-Cons are just about people going and buying comic books, but really it's about us being in the same space, sharing ideas, pushing and challenging, and growing as human beings. And the best part is that because of the internet, we have a chance to shape everything. And so we see Hollywood and everything's being guided by this sort of tiny little powerful force within comic books, and we get a chance to be part of it. So it's an excellent time to be alive, an excellent time to be a nerd, and I'm super excited that we get to share this weekend together. And so, as we close, we've got all the stuff and things for everyone, so definitely follow them and find them. They've got some incredible platforms, videos, and all kinds of awesome stuff, so definitely do that. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you guys for coming.
Like it, we start working on the prototype after you sent the destroyer. Even I don't know what it does. Want to find out? Don't worry, son of coal. You're not gonna die. I'm not? No, but I'm sending you to a place